Welcome to the podcast, Science of High Paid, High Performing, Happy Engineers, the show to help engineers develop all skills non technical. My name is Aditya Gute, and I'm a speaker and a performance coach for engineers to transform them into rock stars because I believe there's a rock star hiding inside each one of you, and it just needs to be brought outside to uncover your full potential as an engineer.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Today we have Ashok. Ashok has over 30 plus years of experience in high technology sectors and is a serial entrepreneur with blended skills in technology, business, engineering, and management. Highly analytical and an industry visionary, he's a respected speaker at international conferences on technology. Ashok is currently the CEO of Unfold Labs, an innovative and strategic product development company in mobile and cloud platform technologies. Welcome to the podcast, Ashok. It's a pleasure to have you.
Same here, Aditya.
Great. So, Ashok, you started off as a technical manager and an engineer, and now you have stepped into several management roles with top-notch companies like Samsung and several other companies, and now you have your own company, CEO Unfold Labs, and it has won many awards, and you have won many leadership awards for your leadership skills. So just walk us through your journey on how you went from starting off as a humble engineer, a career as an engineer, to becoming this executive and entrepreneur.
Yeah. So I started off my career as a software engineer, embedded systems engineer, in short, right? Okay, in India. I was born and brought up in southern India, and I was an embedded systems engineer when I started my career. Then what I did was I was writing programs and software for embedded controller systems. Then from then on, I started looking at operating system internals, doing a lot of core software engineering work, building platforms, getting into the depths of the operating systems and stuff like that. Then I started liking some parts of business when where I was starting to look at holes in broad portfolios of companies. So, for example, when I was working with Ericsson, I found that we had a lot of products, and then there are gaps in the portfolio where I was asked to go and do evaluation of technology companies and stuff like that. That's where my business journey started, looking at products, technologies, and see where they fit into the product portfolio. Slowly but steadily, what happened was I started becoming an entrepreneur. Started off a few companies then and there, and then now in 2015, when I left the corporate world after working for Nokia, Motorola, Samsung, and all the likes, I started off on my own, and right now I run about two companies. Still a technologist at heart, I would say.
That's wonderful. So it seems like you first started shifting into management roles when you were asked to evaluate products. So tell us about how that experience was like, moving from technology sector to evaluating products and stepping into the management role, and why were you given that opportunity?
So basically, I understood the complete stack from the bottom up. What I would say is that basically, since of a core engineering software expertise, I could understand the core problems that are there in the product portfolios. And when I was evaluating all these products, right, I had a way of taking a deeper look at the product. At the same time, I had a good way of looking at the industry. Okay. So where were the issues with the product, or what were the core features of the product, and what was the value of any of these products or companies that we were evaluating, right? So I had that way of looking at things from a very engineering based investment perspective rather than come from a pure investment perspective. because of which, okay, companies like Motorola, Nokia, and all those companies, right, they were very interested in having my views around core technology solutions that were coming in for investments.
That that's a great skill to have. And when I've worked with engineers, many of engineers have trouble articulating or looking at the products from a business standpoint. So maybe what I would love to learn from you, which will be also very useful to the listeners, is that how did you demonstrate those skills, that you can understand not only the technology behind the products but also the products in the market itself, and how were you able to demonstrate those skills and also convince the management that you are the right fit for the job?
So one of the best areas that I always like engineering to meet management is communication, right? Okay, making the right PowerPoint slides or understanding the right problem and documenting it right for the management folks to understand, right? So one of the that was one of the major areas that I started looking into. That was one, right? The second is basically, okay, doing competitive analysis. For example, if we were looking at a one product, okay, to take a look at multiple other products in the market and do competitive analysis to figure out, okay, where each of these are fitting in and how these are built, right? It's kind of a blue sky dreaming exercise where you take a look at things from a very 60,000 feet level, and then start dreaming about, okay, how these are built at the 1,000 feet level, right? That was step one. And the second is, okay, documenting this for management and the managers to understand that, okay, this is how this is going to work. And these are the advantages and disadvantages of it. The way I put these together was very much liked by the management teams across all these organizations, because of which, okay, I was basically kind of a sort out guy for most of these organizations that I worked with. For example, I would say, right? Okay, so at Samsung, where okay, I was responsible for emerging products and services. I had a way of putting in one slider for innovation, or okay, I can get into the depth of the product from a 60,000 feet level to the 1,000
Ah,
feet level with respect to
mhm.
implementation.
That's wonderful. That's pretty fantastic. And where did you acquire these business skills? Did you go to a B school, or were you just natural in it?
I never went to a B school. It is natural. What I felt was, okay. I'm a learner by learner in things, right? Okay, so I always feel that, okay, whatever I know is just a single drop. Unknown is the ocean, right? So that is something that really makes me be awake, read, learn, do things in a completely different way, and making sure that, okay, I could teach people as well. So one of the major aspects that I have always been done is basically mentoring people, right? Okay, the more you mentor, the more you are teaching. The more you teach, the more you learn, right? Okay, that's kind of a mantra that I've been going after.
I love that. And we'll go into the mentorship section in just a few minutes. But before we jump into that, so let's just go back to that previous role where you were working in as an engineer and you got this opportunity to study products in the market. So at that time, you said you were doing the competitive analysis, and communication skills were one of the things that you really honed. During those times, did you come up with this idea about doing the market analysis, or was that something your manager asked you to do and you got the opportunity? So how did that work? Were you proactive, or uh, did an opportunity come up and you
I'm
took a
a
stab
very,
at it?
very proactive person, right? Okay, so I'm very strategic in doing anything that I am doing. So what I do is basically, okay, being very, very proactive, starting to look at multiple angles to the problem. Even today, whenever I'm working on projects, right? Okay, I take the problem statements in a completely different paradigm shifts, take different look at the problem and come up with innovative solutions, right? So when I was asked to evaluate, I know that, okay, when I was asked to evaluate companies, I know that, okay, investment people come in from a different angle, in the dollar angle, and then the engineer looks at it from a pure technology angle, right?
Right.
So what I wanted to do was build a bridge from across the 360-degree view of the problem and how this problem could be used to solve investment, management, technology, and the solution, right? So that was one of the major aspects that I bring to the table in terms of a 360 view of problems and solutions.
That's fantastic, and I hear a lot of strengths that you bring to the table, Ashok. But if you have to like pinpoint one superpower that you have, which helped you achieve the level of it helped you achieve your level of success, winning awards, starting companies, and being able to see different perspectives when bringing up a product. So, what is that superpower that you think you have, which helped you do all of these things?
See, the one major thing is, okay, ideas are dime a dozen, right? Okay, that is one. The second is
Absolutely.
basically the second is basically, okay, communicating to the right people in the right way. So if I'm going to be talking to a 10-year-old, I know how to talk. And when talking to a 50-year-old, I need to know how I have to communicate. I need to know how I'm going to communicate with a C-level only management guy or a C-level only technology guy, right? So I had a way of bringing in the problem and explaining it properly to the right audience, right? So that is actually one of the biggest things that I have learned from conferences as well. Even before I go and speak in a conference, I would try to understand, okay, who's the audience, where are they coming from, and how do I address the problem to them, right? I can go to a technology group and I shouldn't be talking management, and if I'm going to a management group and I shouldn't be talking technology, right? So you need to understand the audience and cater the storyline towards the audience. That was one of the major things that I think has helped me grow in this career.
I really love that. Communication is also my favorite subject, and I love that. So I'd like to ask a few detailed questions on that because this is one of the common struggles for many engineers. Because for our entire life, most of us, we were just writing code. We were just talking to computers more than we talk to people. So this could be this is typically a major challenge for that reason. It is a major challenge for many engineers. Um, so what are some of the tools that you have used early in your career and throughout your career, which helped you, just understand these different perspectives and be able to, tell these stories to different people? Like you said, if it's management, it's a certain kind of story you would be sharing versus a technical person. So, what are some of the practical tips that you can give engineers to expand their communication skills?
The first and foremost, I would say, is when I was an engineer, I was always looking for different solutions to the same problem. So, for example, right, okay, if I have a problem, I would go and look at multiple solutions to the same problem. Talk to different people in different angles, trying to understand, okay, how people would resolve these issues. That is one. Okay. The second is when I was an engineer, I was always passionate of looking at other people's code to understand how best to code or how not to code. Okay. The second was that. The third is basically, okay, I was giving it back to them as a communication material. So if I'm looking at 10 people's code, I would go back to all the 10 and say, okay, this is what I learned from these 10 pieces of code. And these are good, these are not good, and this is how things could have been done, or this is how this could be fixed, right? So slowly and steadily, while I was an engineer itself, right? Okay, I was building that communication vehicle up to the right steps. And then as I was growing out as a leader, what happened was, okay, I had to bridge the gap between an engineer and the management. So I had to really explain the problem right to the management in a way that they can understand. And at the same time, I had to have a good way of talking to the engineers about the problem that they could understand on how to fix it, right?
Right.
So bridging this gap over time, over the years, helped me really understand tech to the bottom level and I management to the top level, right? Okay, so that is where I built the bridge of making sure that, okay, I was communicating it right to the top and the bottom. And right now, when my engineers come to me today, I can understand exactly where they're coming from.
Excellent. So would you say you have built those communication skills just through practicing and trying it out different ways?
Yes. Yes, I would say that, okay, there are multiple ways of doing this. One is basically start by reading and do a lot of writing. Okay, that's very important. And when you're writing, don't write fluff, keep it short and simple. People don't see in this world, right? There's instant gratification is what people are looking for. If you're going to be writing 30 pages of documentation and there are only two pieces of nuggets of wisdom, people are not going to be reading it. If you have two nuggets of wisdom, okay, put it in one simple slide or one simple page and move on, right? So being crisp is what I think is the major issue with most people, right? Okay, so I have come across, and I really put things in a very light perspective and not very in a fluffy fashion.
Got it. So simplicity is the way to go when it comes to communication. Love that.
For example,
So,
today, if I'm looking at a product, right, a product idea from a 60,000 feet level, I'll put a one slider, right? And at the same time, if I had to go to the engineering level, right, okay, I put it in a 10 slider with an architecture and with the right features and how it has to be implemented.
I love that, and I also love how you answer my questions, because it is even answering my question is straight to the point. You're giving me exactly what I'm asking for. I love that. So, you know, I also work with a lot of engineers from India, and one of the main limiting belief for engineers who come from, especially from South India, that is that, you know, I can't speak good English, my accent, people can't understand me. So coming from those beliefs, it's really hard to even think about stepping into the management positions, and especially without an MBA, without an official degree. So, what would you advise those engineers who are right now, you know, and many of them are working in the IT industry, if they're afraid about speaking up because they come from a certain place and they can't speak in a certain way?
See, the first and foremost thing is basically getting out of the comfort zone, right? I know how difficult it was for me to get on the stage the first time. I got on stage the first time with about 100 people sitting right in front of me. I was like shivering, right? So
Right.
getting out, pushing yourself out of the comfort zone is one major issue that I see. It's not only engineers from India or engineers from anywhere else, right? Okay, I've seen this around the world because I've seen people from Korea, I've seen people from Europe, I've seen people from around the world, right? So as engineers, getting themselves out of the comfort zone is the most important thing that I would say is the first big aspect of growth. The second I would say is that, okay, get rid of those limiting beliefs, right? So when we are raised, right, okay, we've been told by our parents, oh, you can do only this, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do
Yes.
that, all that stuff, right? Okay, getting rid of
Absolutely.
them, throwing them away, and living the new normal, I would call it, right? Okay, so where you are today and where you have to go is kind of a big step in planning, right? So getting rid of the limiting beliefs, putting a good plan for your career together. Today, if I talk to a lot of engineers, right? A lot of engineers are day-to-day engineers.
Right.
Most of the time, they wake up, they get into office, they do their coding, they go home for dinner, and that's it. They're done. The next morning is the
Absolutely.
same. They don't even have a
Absolutely.
plan, right?
Exactly.
So I would always tell people that, okay, they have to get together for the kind of a life planning is very important for anybody to grow.
I love that. I totally agree with it, because, you know, especially since as an engineer, you know, your manager create goals for you in school. The teachers create goals for you. So most engineers don't even create their own goals. So when it comes to create your own goals, Ashok, would you write those goals down? How do you do your goal planning?
Yeah. So this is all in my part of being a mentor and as part of my life as well, right? I do management by objectives. I have 5 year plans, and then okay, I have based on the 5 year plans, I go with 2 year plans, right? Okay, if I had three 5-year plans, I would have 8 to 10 2-year plans, right? So the 2-year plans are short-term plans that lead you or leapfrog you to the 5-year plan, right? Um, and as I always tell people, whenever I talk to people about goals and planning and all that stuff, I tell these goals are not to be set in stone, right? Okay, things change. For example, nobody knew that okay, this is going to happen in 2020, right?
Right.
So now that we are here, okay, we are in this kind of a situation. So we may have to renegotiate or redo the goals in a different way, but that is part of life, right? Change is very, very important, and change is a choice in life, right? Okay, so we need to be very, very open for changes in life, and basically, okay, plan and then replan it. If it doesn't work out, replan it and move forward based on your plan.
I love that. And especially that is even more important if you don't want to live the routine 9 to 5 life, like you just explained, which is getting up in the morning and just going to work and coming home, having dinner, doing the same routine again. But if you want to do something different, like, starting your own company or climbing up the corporate ladder, it's almost important that you create those 5 year and 2 year plans. So thank you for sharing that. And coming back to this mentorship, you shared me the last time we spoke. You shared me a really great story about how someone you met like 10 years ago has become the Microsoft of VP, and they tried reaching out to you. Would you mind sharing that story with our audience and the
Yeah,
importance of
I'm more
mentorship?
of a kind of a communicator, and wherever I see if I can make a difference in the world, I try to help people out, right? So this was on a flight when I was flying from Dallas to California. An Indian gentleman, a student at that time, he was a student at that time. So he was right next to me, and we were having a very casual conversation, and he was asking me about goals and career and how things have to be done properly and all that stuff. It was kind of a 3-hour flight. So we had a great discussion around it. I gave him my business card and I moved on. Right. So I completely forgot about all that. And nearly after 10 years, okay, I saw a LinkedIn invite that came in. And he said, Ashoka, I don't know if you remember me. I basically, okay, we met on a flight from Dallas to California. At that time, okay, you gave me a couple of ideas for me to go through my goals and stuff like that. It was awesome meeting you. And today I'm at Microsoft in a very, very senior level. And I've been a very, very successful person at a big corporate company right now. I've been trying to reach you for a long time, but then I couldn't get to you. So this is the first time I found you on LinkedIn and connected with you. Thanks for everything. Okay, was one of the greatest emails that I can never forget in my life. Right. I
Absolutely.
do. On top of it, I do basically do a lot of mentorship for a lot of people. I've mentored a lot of engineers who are basically now in companies like Google's of the world or Microsoft or Motorola's of the world, right? Where they were engineers, and then okay, slowly, steadily giving them tips and tricks and mentorship for them to grow.
I mean, hearing that story again just gives me goosebumps again, because this gentleman whom you mentored, like 10 to 15 years ago, and that too only for 3 hours. I mean, he must have gotten us so much value for him to be able to remember you even after 10 to 15 years, even though you were not in touch. So that's such an inspiring story. And so tell us. I mean, even when I reached out to your show, you were prompt in responding to me on LinkedIn, even though I didn't know you, and you shared me a lot of wisdom and advice when we got on the call. So tell us, in spite of your hectic schedule, how do you make time for your mentees?
This is what I tell people, right? Okay, if you don't get a response from me in 12 to 24 hours, one, I am dead, or two, the email didn't reach me. Right?
It's so
Okay.
funny.
So I am nearly a kind of a 24-hour person. Even if I'm on a flight, I'm connected. I'm always looking at various aspects of things. I'm reading. I probably sleep at 2 o'clock at night every night, reading and doing stuff, and I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, right? Uh, and then okay, I am always connected, and I always respond to all the emails meticulously, right? Um, I feel that okay, by helping others, okay, you help yourself, right? Okay, that really gives me a little bit of a good leeway to start learning from each and every person that I meet in my life.
I think that's a great message to close our podcast show. Is that by helping others, you're actually helping yourself, and you're doing more good to the humanity, and also more doing good for yourself. So, as a closing question, Ashok, is there anything else you would like to share with our audience in this podcast today?
As an engineer, start looking, if this is catered towards an engineering audience, right? As an engineer, make sure that okay, you are looking around you. Technology is changing on a day to day basis, right? Okay, things keep changing, so don't be very much on a day to day things. Rather, basically, start looking at it from a strategic approach of where you want to be. Don't just be a programmer. Try to become a software engineer or an architect, right? I see 98 to 99% of the people or engineering side, whenever I talk to them, they want to be programmers or coders, right? That is good, but not that great in the sense that I would like each and every of those guys to become engineers or architects. There's a huge difference between a programmer, engineer, or an architect, right? Programmer is just coding, right? Adding syntax to something, right? Whereas engineering is basically okay, putting together a solution together in a good way. Okay, architecture is basically architecting a complete solution. Okay, so most engineers of today are basically okay in the programming realm and not moving towards an engineering or an architecture realm, right? I would seriously suggest that okay, everybody start looking at all programmers or all engineers start looking at real engineering, real architecture, and real solutioning. Okay, that would help them to grow and glow.
Thank you again, Ashok, for being with us for today's podcast. And we had Ashok today, the CEO of Unfold Labs. You can check him out on the website by going to unfoldlabs.com. Thank you again.
Thank you, Aditya, for the opportunity.
Thank you for listening to my podcast. Hopefully, you learned some important nuggets to uncover the rock star from inside of you. If you have any questions, you can reach me on my email at aditya at whoweare.io. It's ADITYA at whoweare.io.